Overdraft fees, how banks farm the poor. Frank goes $5 negative. His bank account is now a tiny hole. Frank needs $5 to fill it. The bank needs 35. That difference is where the story gets interesting. Because Frank did not borrow a fortune. He borrowed the price of a sandwich. And somehow the sandwich now comes with a toll booth. Today we are going to explain exactly how that happens. Using one small hole. Stay to the end because the darkest part is not the first fee. It is what happens when Frank tries to climb back out. Imagine Frank has a checking account. There is $100 inside. Frank feels rich. Not rich. More like, I can buy lunch without checking my phone. Rich. Then Frank buys something for $20. The account drops to 80. Nothing strange happens. Frank buys groceries for $40. Now he has 40 left. The little hole is nowhere in sight. Then Frank buys a coffee. $5. $35 remain. Then a forgotten subscription charges $38. Frank's account cannot cover it. The account falls $3 below zero. There is the hole. $3. That is all Frank actually needs. He needs $3 to get back to zero. But the bank has a machine. The machine has rules. And the machine does not care that Frank's hole is tiny. Frank's account is negative. A fee appears. Call it $35. Now Frank does not owe $3. He owes 38. The hole just got wider. Frank checks his phone. The number looks ridiculous. But the machine is not finished. Because Frank has another payment scheduled. His phone bill arrives. The account is already negative. The payment pushes it farther down. Another fee can appear. Now the tiny hole has become a trench. Frank did not wake up planning to borrow money. He did not visit a bank and request a loan. He simply spent money before realizing the account was empty. But the bank's machine treats the moment differently. To the machine, a negative balance is an event. An event creates a fee. A fee makes the balance more negative. A more negative balance creates more pressure. And pressure creates another problem. Now notice what happened. Frank's original mistake was $3. The consequences are dozens of dollars. The hole is small. The walls are expensive. That is the basic shape of an overdraft fee. Now the machine gets stranger. Frank gets paid every 2 weeks. His paycheck normally arrives on Friday. The bank knows this. Frank knows this. His landlord does not care. His electricity company does not care. His automatic payments certainly do not care. So Frank waits for Friday. But Wednesday arrives first. His account is still negative. His electric bill hits. The hole gets deeper. Another fee may appear. Then his insurance payment arrives. Another transaction. Another possible fee. Frank is no longer dealing with one $5 problem. He is dealing with a chain of transactions. The first missing dollars were the spark. The fees became the firewood. The machine keeps feeding itself. This is why timing matters. A paycheck can be perfectly healthy. The account can still fail before it arrives. The money is coming. The bills simply arrive first. Now picture the same machine with thousands of francs. One franc goes $5 negative. Another goes 10. Another goes 20. Some recover immediately. Others need several days. Some get hit once. Others get hit repeatedly. The bank sees thousands of tiny holes. Each hole can produce a fee. The individual hole is small. The machine is enormous. And this is where the uncomfortable part begins. Frank is not paying because he borrowed a lot. He is paying because he is short at the wrong moment. The bank is monetizing the timing problem. Now replace Frank's checking account with a real bank account. Replace the tiny hole with an overdraft. Replace the machine with the bank's fee structure. That is how overdraft fees work. The exact rules vary by bank and account. Some transactions may be declined. Some banks may charge fees. Some accounts offer overdraft protection. Some institutions have changed or eliminated certain fees. But the basic problem remains. Frank has less money than the payment requires. The transaction creates a negative balance. And the consequences can multiply. For Frank, $35 is not a rounding error. Can be groceries. Can be gasoline. Can be a phone bill. For someone earning a modest hourly wage, one fee can represent hours of work. Frank might need to work several hours just to replace money he never intended to lose. And remember the original hole. $5. A $5 mistake can become a $35 problem. That is the absurdity. Frank could have avoided the entire fee with $5. But now he needs much more than 5. And the clock is still running. His next paycheck has not arrived. His next bill has. This is where the ordinary worker feels the machine differently. A wealthy person can absorb a $35 fee without changing dinner. Frank might move money between bills. He might delay groceries. He might use a credit card. He might borrow from a friend. Now the original fee has created another financial decision. And every decision has a cost. Frank is trying to fill a $5 hole. But the machine keeps handing him bigger buckets to carry. Here is the darker lesson. The people most vulnerable to overdraft fees are often the people with the least room for error. A person with a large cash cushion can survive a timing mistake. Frank cannot. His account lives close to zero. Every unexpected charge becomes a trapdoor. A $5 mistake becomes a $35 fee. The fee becomes a lower balance. The lower balance makes the next payment more dangerous. The next payment can trigger another fee. The machine does not need Frank to be reckless. It only needs Frank to be close to the edge. That is why overdraft fees feel so brutal. The fee arrives precisely when the customer has the least money. Frank's bank account is not a bottomless wallet. It is a narrow bridge. Every payment is another person walking across it. Most days, everyone crosses safely. Then one payment arrives $5 too early. Frank falls through. And the toll collector is waiting underneath. The machine does not ask whether Frank is irresponsible. It asks whether the account can cover the transaction. The answer is no. A fee appears. That fee becomes part of the balance. And the balance becomes harder to repair. Frank eventually gets paid. His paycheck lands in the account. The hole disappears. But something else happened. Frank's paycheck did not arrive at zero. It arrived already damaged. The money that should have paid for food or rent is now covering fees. Frank starts the next 2 weeks with less money. That makes another shortage more likely. The next shortage can create another fee. Now the machine has something it loves. A repeating customer. Not because Frank wants overdrafts. Because Frank has less money after every recovery. The hole keeps reopening. That is the real trap. The first overdraft is an accident. The second can be a consequence. The third can become a pattern. And patterns are where fees become expensive. Think about the difference between Frank and someone with $10,000 sitting untouched. Both people make the same $5 mistake. One person notices it as an inconvenience. Frank notices it as a financial emergency. The transaction is identical. The consequences are not. That is why the system feels so different at different income levels. The same fee has the same dollar value. But it does not have the same weight. For Frank, $35 might equal several hours of work. For someone wealthy, it might equal a forgotten parking ticket. The machine charges both people the same. Only one person feels the floor disappear. So where did the money go? It went from Frank's account to the institution collecting the fee. But the deeper cost was larger. Frank lost flexibility. He lost room for error. He lost money that could have prevented the next shortage. A fee did not simply punish the original mistake. It made the next mistake more likely. That is the part worth remembering. A small hole is survivable. A machine that charges you for falling into it is different. And a machine that charges you again while you climb out is something else entirely. Frank did not need a financial lecture. He needed $5. Instead, he encountered a system where being short at the wrong moment can be expensive. The lesson is not that every bank is secretly hunting Frank. The rules differ. The fees differ. Some banks have removed overdraft charges. Others offer protections or alerts. Customers can also use low balance notifications and carefully monitor automatic payments. But the underlying lesson remains. When your cash buffer is thin, timing becomes money. And when timing becomes money, a tiny mistake can become a large bill. Frank's $5 hole was never really about $5. It was about what happens when you have no room around the $5. Because the poorest person in the room does not just have less money. They often have less space to make mistakes. And that is why a $5 hole can become a financial machine. The bank collects the fee. Frank collects the consequences. The money disappears in seconds. The recovery can take hours. Sometimes days. Sometimes longer. So the next time you see a tiny negative balance, remember Frank. The hole is small. The machine is not. And the most expensive thing in banking is sometimes not borrowing money. It is having too little of it at exactly the wrong moment.